What's up, everybody? You are tuning into Conversations with Courtney, and I'm here with my friends. I'm going to introduce people from left to right. We got Caleb French. He is the co-founder of Prime Connects. We have Miss Divine Triplet. She is a social queen, social media queen, okay? Content producer, myself, of course. And then we have Deontay Brown, who is also a co-founder of Prime Connects. And then we have Miss Autumn Carter, politician, news producer. She wears many hats. And today, this episode is Life in the City. Okay. So, welcome, you guys. This is my first big, guest podcast episode. Like, it was a lot. Shout out to Colin for helping us put it together. There's been a lot that has been happening, How do you feel like the social scene has been doing here in Naptown so far this year?
I think it's been pretty active. Just from our business at Prime, we've been really active in the community, curating events, getting out, meeting people. And I would say across the whole city, it's been a lot between the sports and all-star games. And Caitlin Clark is awesome. And even to the art scene, like we went to one of the first Friday events at the Harris Center downtown last night, and it was just packed. And a lot of good artists. That was the last Friday, which I didn't even know. That was our first one going to. So we had fun there. And then now with holidays, it went by fast. Whole year flew by. But it's been pretty steady, pretty active.
How has the social scene directly impacted Prime Connects? And, how do you feel this helps you all's organization?
Yeah, so I think that it's, just going to touch on your first question, I think that the city has been really going towards like this collaborative effort. So like a lot of people are like joining forces and really kind of getting together and being like, okay, how can we make like a true impact and help define our culture in Indy? I think a bunch of cities like have a defined culture, and we hadn't had that for a long time. I think it's building now, in the sense of like how Prime has been a piece to that. I think it's been critical. We've made a bunch of connections personally that I've seen, from strangers to now business partners. So I think it's played a pretty critical role, and I'm excited to see where it goes like in the next like year or so.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Caleb?
I think one of the keys is just the collaboration, which Deontay touched on, and just always being able to be in a position to collaborate or just simply help someone, connect them with someone, help provide them with some resources, even if you can't yourself provide those resources. I think that just all plays hand in hand in us kind of coming together and that concept of community.
Really and truly, networking is great, but also keeping in mind, of course, not to have like hidden motives or alternatives, but to just tell people what you're trying to do and where you're trying to get to. Of course, not sharing all the details because some things are to be left between you and God until they're full blown come into fruition. But just give an inkling of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And I've made a career out of that, networking and people seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time and putting me in different places to say, I want you here, I want you here. And me just being obedient to God, of course, He orders my footsteps. But just being in a space to allow people to help you and not to be so prideful to get to where you need. And then you are able to give back to them later down the line as well and help them to connect with others. And not only that, but I think to me, connection is, it's just, it's human makeup.
Yeah.
We're meant to connect. We're meant to connect with each other, even if it's not on a career level, but just a simple smile, flashing a smile at someone can make someone's day, or giving somebody your last piece of gum. I'm kidding.
That's love.
No.
That is love, because I'm like, I can break it in half.
To me, it's like you have to have that abundance mindset, though. You have to have that abundance mindset that whatever you put out there, it's going to come back to you tenfold. So don't be afraid to help someone or give someone something that may be your last, because God's going to bless you with even more. And just having good people in your circle, you're able to do that.
That's so true.
You're able to do that without hesitation?
I think that we've all divinely.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wink. I think we've all divinely like connected with each other because Divine and I worked at Wish. And then, we met Deontay and Caleb at Wish. That's where you met your man, girl.
Yes.
But and then Autumn and I, we've known each other since we were 16, 15 and 16. And so, and God brought us full circle this year. It's a blessing because we've all been able to connect and form a bond, and hang out with each other. And I don't think a lot of people in this culture nowadays, well, I shouldn't say culture, but in this time and age are able to really have fruitful friendships. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of wicked out here. What can you say about friendship?
If anything, what I've learned the most about friendship this year is that it doesn't always, sometimes it holds weight how long you've known a person, but that is not always what determines the success or the connection of a friendship, because I actually have I don't even want to say lost. I've disconnected from friends this year who I was friends with since I was 18, 19 in college. And these are friends that I never thought that I would fall out with, for a lack of a better term. Like I thought that these people were going to be in my wedding. And I thought that, we were going to go through all the phases of life together. And unfortunately that did not happen. Whereas I feel like some of the most peaceful friendships I've had were with people who I met when I moved to Indianapolis and started working at Wish. And I've only known them for, looking back now, what, a year and some change. But I feel more protected by them than I have felt with other people. And that's no shade to any. I do have friends.
Yeah, no shade. Sometimes people can't go with you to your next chapter.
To your next chapter, yes.
Even me and Caleb's friendship, like, if you look at me and Caleb's friendship, we've been friends for like 2 going on 3 years now, but you couldn't tell me we wasn't friends for like 10 years now.
I wouldn't
a decade. But
I remember us hanging out and you were like, that's my best friend. Nobody knows with Caleb.
Yeah, literally through thick and thin. Yeah, seriously. But like, just to exactly echo what you're saying, like the time frame doesn't define anything. I think it's genuinely like the intention, the true connection, and like the vision that both of either side of the friendship has. I think a lot of people attach themselves to the wrong people, and it kind of sets them back. Yeah. And sometimes they listen to the wrong people instead of like listening to their intuition with friendships. And like I've been trying to be very, very like acutive to that piece, and like, so I appreciate Caleb's friendship, and like, again, 20 years in my opinion.
And it's good to see Black men who are, connecting with each other, and it's a genuine support of, I got your back, you got my back, and anything you need, and you guys are building a business together. I love that. And it's good to see us coming together. Like, we don't be coming together like that, but I love to see 2 Black men coming together. But yeah, sometimes friendships have to end.
I think to me, it's a testament of elevation as well. Like when you're starting to see that your circle is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, it's because you're working more and more and more on who you are, and you're really and truly letting go of those pieces of you that no longer serve you. And sometimes people go with that because they can no longer identify with who you are and who you're becoming. I think of it as like a sculpture. You're being sculpted by God, or you're like on the potter's wheel, and you're being molded, and some people can't handle that.
I think that it really shows the growth in you as a person. I'm going to say as a woman specifically, when you can disconnect from someone because we're not in alignment and we don't see eye to eye anymore, but I still want you to eat. You just can't eat at my table. Because I feel like I've been put in situations where I had every reason to, I could have been wicked towards someone, or I could have lashed out, or I could have said all these crazy things and respond and wish you the worst, but I didn't, because of God and because he kept me centered, I'm not even going to get into specific situations, but I say all that to say I've disconnected with people sometimes because of the people that they're associated with, you know, and in the direction that I'm moving, the people in the crowd that you hang with and the way that they carry themselves and how they act impacts you and influences you, which is influencing our friendship, you know. But it's like, going forward, we might have to go our separate ways, but I still wish you well. Like, I hope that you get all the things. I hope you elevating your career and your personal and professional life. So I just want to say that you can disconnect from people, but you can still wish them well, because like you said, what you put out comes back.
For me, like, I always say this now, like, as I'm older now, I'm like, people define love backwards, in my opinion. Like, even in love and friendship or relationships.
Tell me more,
like,
because I'm like, I'm
yeah, for sure. So like, people define love as like what positive have you given to me, right? Across society, if you ask anybody, it's like, oh, this person did this, 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 and this. I'm like, it's not really like what love should like reflect, in my opinion. It should reflect like, how much are you willing to go through for them, like, of the negative, like how many walls are you willing to break through with them? My bad. How many walls are you willing to break through with them and like still say, I got your back, like I'm still in your corner regardless? Because like, when you look at a parent to a child, like the child can mess up and do like the worst, right? But like, that parent is still gonna love that child, like regardless. So like, that's what I think people look at love backwards. Like, and even just like from like the absolute nature of humans, like, we should look at and be like, how much am I willing to like go through for this person? And that should define love, rather than how much positive have we experienced together.
I agree with that, because I think for me, understanding like there's different types of love, but love is not struggling with someone in terms of letting them treat you badly, and saying that I've been through this with them. I think, to me, in our culture, in our society, and as a whole, and in general, and I think if you were saying this, sorry for being redundant, but I think for me, it's not what you've gone through with this person in terms of like them dragging you through the mud and be like, I've been a ride or die. Yes. We're not doing that in 2024 and 2025.
And I ain't
like,
dying.
The girlies, we're not doing that anymore, gentlemen. We're not ride or dying. We are
riding and living and having fun.
Right, and we are passenger princesses.
Living the soft life.
Right, we are passenger queens, like Miss Divine over here.
She living the soft life,
She's
y'all.
living the soft life. But
She be like, my man. Girl, I'm out to dinner with my man. I'm like, okay, girl, call me back.
I say all the time, y'all, he released me. God released me, okay? And he used Caleb to do it from the shackles. Okay, so I can dance. Yes. And I wish this on every sister, every friend, every woman. And I'm going to say it, I wish this for every Black woman. Every Black woman.
if you're not treating me nice, don't talk to me.
Yeah, for real.
If you can't talk to me nice, don't talk to me at all.
I'm gonna clarify a little bit also. Like, that doesn't mean that like when I say like in the sense of like the position of like loving what I've been through, that doesn't mean like you don't have boundaries. Like everybody should have lines in the sand that they're like, don't cross this line, because that's going to define. Like for me, that tells me that you don't love or respect me.
Right.
Like, people should have those lines in the sand. But it's like, okay, what is the bumpers here? Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I think so. That's absolutely correct. I think for me though, it's like we have this concept though of we should be ride or dies and we should stick by this person's side. And it's like, if you take me through some BS, just go ahead and stop and drop me off right here, baby.
You gotta know you personally gotta know where that line is. Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, I think to me, sometimes people wear that S on their chest. And I think to me, a lot of times, even with Black women, they have made it seem like, it's so great to be strong, but it's like everybody else is out here living a soft life. What about us Black women? So I think that's what I'm trying to say is a lot of us Black women have been taught to be strong and push through everything, and it's like, no, sis, you gotta take a day off and you gotta rest and you gotta allow people to treat you with kindness.
First of all, we deserve to live the luxurious life as well, especially if we bring value.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the scrubs on each end.
Right.
I'm talking about the people who actually bring value to the table. Like, don't hit me with some bare minimum energy,
'Cause you gonna
especially
get-
if I'm gonna bring you premium energy.
And look,
like,
because you're gonna get no energy from me. I'm gonna be like, who's it?
right.
Who's this?
Like, new name, new number, don't care.
Right.
You know, and I think so many times as Black women, we've settled for potential.
For potential. Oh
like,
my gosh.
he might not get there, or that job may not offer you what you want.
You are preaching.
You know, months and years down the line. So what I've told myself is we're no longer doing the potential status. It's like
Absolutely.
you're either here
or you're not.
Or you're not.
And I think that is so brilliant what you said, because I will even say this about myself. I was going through therapy through a past relationship. We were both going to a therapist, and he stopped going to the therapist. The relationship ended. I'm single, by the way. We were going to therapy, and my therapist said something to me on like a one-off session with me. And he said, I want you to really look at this person. And he said, I really want you to see, is it the potential that you see in him, or is it who he is that you want? And that was like a paradigm shift for me. And I was like, wow. I was like, it's the potential, because I have built this person up in my mind to be who I wanted him to be. But in all reality, he's here, and I've placed him here.
To piggyback off of what Autumn was saying when you were talking about potential, I think a lot of what the problem is, and I am in a great relationship now, but I've also had my dealings and experiences before this relationship that I'm in now. And I will say, we do try to see the potential in a person instead of seeing them for exactly who they are, because I think we want to look for the best in people. And I'm like with Caleb, for example, this relationship has taught me, like, you need to look at things or discuss things from the very beginning. So like, for example, if I have a friend, right, and I know, or she knows, she wants to be married, she goes out with the guy, we're going to call him Tom. Okay, she goes out with Tom. And, first day, I understand we're still learning each other, but we're very intentional, right? We're talking about what we want to see in our life. And, okay, what are you looking for? I'm just kind of going with the flow. Like, why would you continue talking to somebody that's going with the flow? They can say, I'm looking for a relationship, I'm looking for marriage. That doesn't mean that you guys are going to get married just because it's the first date. Right. You get what I'm saying? You still have to go on a few dates before you even get to the relationship stage.
Vetting people.
But ask them, like, I don't think that's rushing. Like, if we had talked about marriage and he said that's not something that he wanted, we wouldn't be talking.
There's certain people who will literally they want you so much that they will try to shape and bend and flex their standards to be what you're asking of. So I think to me, really talking about values on the first date is what it is. I'm not saying that you weren't saying that, but just to say, like, for protection for my sisters out here.
Ask that man them 3 core questions.
Yes, and ask him the questions that are the ones that may start an argument in the later on in your relationship. Ask those things, because it's easier to walk away when you're sitting at the dinner table than it is when you have put in the time. And that's something that I had to learn is, just because you put in the time and there's history does not mean that it's for you to continue to dump it into it. It's like, as humans, we have this tendency to want to keep what we've invested in, and that's even our time. And it may not be the best situation for us, but because we put in the time, we have history and all these other things, it does not mean that you're supposed to stay. It makes it harder. But if you have those conversations, like Divine said, up front, then you can literally walk away from that dinner table and be like, thank you for dinner.
And I wanted to ask something real quick, Deontay. Caleb, since you are in a relationship with Devon, what is that side like? You get what I'm saying? Because we always hear about what us women want and how we feel and what you gonna do, what you're not gonna do. But what about for men?
It's honestly relatively similar. I think ultimately just being just a human, right, on any level, man or woman. Like, everyone has their own life and their own story, their own journey, their own relationships, whether it be friendships, with family, like, everything you go through kind of molds you in a way. So I think, like, from my perspective, I know what I've been through. So for the first time we ever talked, like, we're just like chilling, just on the phone talking, but the stuff that she's saying, I'm like, okay, this is the right balance. This is like exactly what I'm looking for, just based off of stuff she's asking me, and then vice versa, things I'm asking her, and then she's responding. And like, not that I asked you anything that would have offended you, but like, you know, like it was just a good chemistry and good flow.
The spirit.
Yeah, to make sure it match. Because I always, sometimes like Deontay and like our other friends will laugh at me because the spirit and the chemistry, the flow, like the vibe. Like I describe a lot of stuff as a vibe. Like even like in business and on careers, like I can like tell the vibe, and I feel like that that concept of just balance and even just potential like kind of transpires to different parts of your life. Because even a job could keep you in bondage. Like if you are like you've been at this job for months, you've been at this job for years, and you're ready for that next level, that next step, that next thing that could stretch you so you can grow. But if they don't pour back into you, whether it's just constraints at the company or a bad manager, there's just not room to growth. Like you could get caught in that because you've already invested that time and built relationships with people that you work with. But at the same time, like you have to know like what your potential is and like kind of make that hard decision sometimes. That's the same with going back to relationships or friendships, family, like whatever it is. Sometimes you have to make those tough decisions.
I'm gonna definitely pick on something that you said. I think like you also knowing like exactly who you are as well, like in order to identify like this space isn't even for me. Like I think a lot of people try to like move like unconsciously and like not being able to define like who am I, like outside of my job, outside of my friends, outside of my like hobbies. Like when I sit down and define myself, like what are my boundaries, what are my standards? And I think people move through like work and relationships in that manner. So it's hard for them to go into a relationship and then be really intentional about their emotion because they don't even know who they are at the core, and they try to find themselves in their partner or in their job. You know what I'm saying? And then when that's gone, then they lost again, and then now they're just looking for the next person to, you know what I'm saying, be like, oh yeah, this is who I define myself as. So like I like that you touched on that. So
they put a lot of their self-identity into of course I won't say names, but I know people who have left jobs and they feel like anybody would naturally go through the motions, but they're like, oh my gosh, like this was my life.
So devastating to them.
It wasn't just a huge part of them. That's okay, but this was me. Like I am a meteorologist. If I am not a meteorologist, I am nobody. Like it's like, but you were you before you became the, you know.
Go on dates with yourself. Like don't invite nobody. Just go do something that you never even like thought that you were gonna. Like for me, when I went through like one of my toughest breakups personally, I just went every day and I found out for myself that I like bowling. Like I suck at it. At that time I was terrible at it. I'm better at it now, but like I literally was like, I enjoy bowling. And then I went and done some other stuff. And I was like, I like this. And then like you sit back and you're like, hey, you actually a pretty cool person. I'm like, thanks, myself. Like, you know what I'm saying? But then like, but those times I was really able to identify who I was and like really draw out like who I was as a person. So when I present that to like a table of somebody I'm trying to court at the time, like I know who I am. Like, and I'm not trying to reshape myself or mold myself to fit your like, you know what I'm saying, what you want. Like, and I think that just takes away the tough time of like, oh well, now we spent 8 months or 12 months together, and now it's like I figured that it wasn't gonna work. Like you can identify this within. You can only fake for like 90 days. It's my opinion. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can only fake it for 90 days.
You gotta be like, wrap this up.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just what I think.
I was going at like the concept of like just planning, like just having a plan, because like say in that instance, I went back to in a profession, like whether you're in business or having a job, like whatever that looks like for you, like you can't go back to that same situation you were in before and expect a different outcome the next time. So it's like if you do plan on making a change, it's like, okay, how am I going to approach this? Like how's it going to impact my lifestyle and my finances, all those things. And then the same like in a relationship, like, okay, if this is our goal to get married one day or get a house or have kids, like what does that look like? And kind of what would that time frame look like, because you can't just.
That's the thing. It has to be a time frame because they may be right for you, right? But then you look up and you're like 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road. okay, buddy.
So what are we
you
doing
know,
here?
like what are we doing here?
What are we
Because like life continues to go on, you know,
Absolutely.
and you don't want to be stuck in the same space year after year after year. Because if you're not gonna make a move, let somebody else do it.
Right. Get somebody else to do it.
And that goes for, it's not just for relationships, but that's also for jobs. Like if you have a timeline that you like, I want to be in this kind of position, and you realize that that company is not making it easier for you to move up the ladder, then don't waste your time there. If you realize that they're not going to pay you what you're worth, then don't waste your time there. You know?
But I feel like it's the same thing. Like you have to be able to like, you have to know that for yourself too, like before you even get into that situation. And I feel like a lot of people, again, just like they just move, you know what I'm saying? Like without even consulting God, like without consulting them like themselves as like their internal, like what I want to do as well. Like, and they just kind of just move through it. And it's like they have no, and not saying like, I don't think that you were saying this, but like timelines aren't like a stamp, right? It's loose, right? But you have like an idea like where I want to be within this time frame. Yeah, but like, people never just, I think people just don't take the time to just be like, bro, like, where do I want to see myself? And like, what do I want? What are my desires? And it just, I feel like it's.
And God will make it evident too.
Absolutely. There'll be like different coming up over and over and over.
He does want to keep you at a certain place, you know, and it's okay. But then I think when it becomes uncomfortable and you feel like the boat is rocking, it's like, okay, God, is this the time to step out of the boat? You know what I mean?
And I think to me, like, God has made it very clear and evident that like when I'm in a place too long, I just know. And like things just are not thinging the way they were when I first started working there. I'm like, I still feel this way, and now I feel this way. And I'm not saying that you're supposed to go off of feelings, because feelings are fleeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a part of that too is being like softly critical of yourself, like always being like, okay, like, am I just allowing like things around me to just move or like and like that settle? Part. You know what I'm saying?
That's where you get swept under the you like get swept away with the ocean, and then you look back and you're like, dang, I've been at this job for 10 years, and you haven't really accomplished any of your goals. It's like you always have to come like centerfold with yourself and say, okay, like I said, like a annual review with myself, not necessarily with my employer, but to look at my goals and say, okay, I put this on my goal sheet. What have I accomplished? And a lot of times I do a vision board. So I'm like, okay, this is my vision board. Have I accomplished this? Have I accomplished this? And if I have not, why have I not accomplished that? What do I need to do to accomplish it? And y'all know I'm a mover and shaker. I'll be like, okay, I want to do this. And I have friends who have helped me, like Court here and Divine. No, seriously, you guys have. I mean, I'm not going to say what way because I don't want to tell all the things, but just with, I'll just say this with insight. If you give me insight and intel for things that and how I need to move and operate. And so that speaks volumes to me as a sister and a friend, because you need people who have your back so that you can get the things that you need to get accomplished.
And so with that being said, thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Courtney. Y'all, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to like talk with me and just sit on my podcast. I love y'all. And Colin, thank you so much for helping out, because yes, I will say I am a one-woman show. And so whenever I have friends who will come and say, hey, let me help you out and pour into what you're doing, that makes me feel so grateful. And so, yes, thank you so much. Make sure y'all like, comment, make some comments, you know, and share and subscribe. Okay, thank you.
Watch some other episodes too while you're at it.
Right. Subscribe. Right. You are already here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it's more conversations to come.